The first group that I am mentioning is not because of its size or its priority, but simply because of the habit of my thinking, and therefore I give it to you first. The first group are those people that have met the forgiving Christ. They discovered their sin through some means or another. They realized they'd been caught, and they didn't know what to do about it. They were told that they were a hell. They weren't so sure, but they figured they'd better be on the safe side. So someone said, accept Jesus. Their primary reason for accepting him was to be inured and immunized against hell. They wanted to have an insurance policy. And so their primary concern in Christ is that he fulfill what they've accepted him for. They were so grateful when they learned that Jesus Christ had died for them that they wouldn't have to die. Put it in more colloquial terms, they were so happy when they learned that Jesus had taken the rap for them, if I may express it that way. They were so happy that he died. They have mistaken their pleasure at the fact he suffered for them as being the witness of the Spirit. But their whole concern about Christ is that they should be protected from suffering and from punishment. They've only met the forgiving Christ, and they've never gone beyond that. When they want to see someone saved, actually what they want is to see someone else come to the place that if they die, they won't go to hell. When they speak of revival, what they mean is to have their hearts feel the same joy that they felt when they first came. There's an upper limit to their interest in the church and in Christianity, and it all relates to them. They have met the forgiving Christ. There's a second group. These are the people that have met the utilitarian Christ. They were in great need and they prayed. And when they prayed, God answered prayer. Perhaps someone else prayed and answered prayer. And they were impressed with the fact that God was tremendously useful and handy to know, because they were in a dilemma. They didn't have any answer to it. Prayer brought the answer. They were sick and God healed them, or they were otherwise in trouble and God brought them out. And so today they are extremely grateful, so grateful that they've joined the church, submitted to baptism, learned doctrines and tithes. But the whole of their interest in Christianity and religion is that they should be where God can take care of them if they're in trouble or in problem. They've met the utilitarian Christ. Then there's a third group of people that have met the status-giving Christ. They were born in such a way that they didn't have the privilege of belonging to the country club. They weren't very accepted in society. They felt they had gregarious impulse and need, and so they were taken into the church. They found warmth and welcome, and so because they wanted fellowship, this was what they accepted. They were willing to submit to the doctrine. They were willing to pray. They were willing to be baptized. They were willing to tithe, to do anything that was required of them. But when they testify, their testimony is, I am delighted to be a Christian because there's such wonderful people in the church. I'm so happy because there's such grand people in the church. It's such a joy to be with such wonderful people and think we'll be together forever in heaven. They've equated status with the whole purpose of God, their status, satisfying their needs for social expression. And then out of this group is another group that become to some degree psychopathic and equate their own status in the group with the glory of God. And anything that pushes them up is to God's glory, and anything that would bypass them or diminish their influence is just the opposite. And these are the ones of whom we spoke about a year ago when I gave you a quotation from Christianity Today's article of November 1960 entitled Crucifying the Pastor. This is the group that you find all over America. Just this past week I've been with a group of 50 pastors down at Summit Grove, and they've talked to me of some of the experiences they've had, where people who have felt that somehow they were bypassed and their status wasn't recognized have used every nefarious, wicked means it was possible to discover in order to bring grief and heartache into they would rather ruin the church than to let for one little moment their own personal status be affected. Well, now this is this third group, the status-giving Christ. So we have three: forgiving Christ, utilitarian Christ, and the status-giving Christ. Then there is a fourth group. This is the group of people that have met the emotion-satisfying Christ. Oh, they love to go to church because they enjoy the syncopation and the rhythm and the emotional appeal. And if they can weep or laugh or do both at the same time or in subsequence, then they go away saying, my, what a wonderful meeting. But the whole purpose of Christianity and religion is to satisfy their emotional needs primarily. And so we have people, they have all the same doctrine, they've all been baptized, they're all in the same religious organization. And when they speak of revival, those who know the forgiving Christ say, well, I want to have others come to know forgiveness. And those that have met the utilitarian Christ said, well, I want to see others help. And those that have met the status-giving Christ said, well, I want to see others come into this wonderful fellowship. And those that have met the emotion-satisfying Christ said, well, I want to feel the way I felt back there in July 6th in 1903, back at that camp meeting. Oh, then we'll have revival. But it's all below the level. Then we have another group called number 5. These are the people that have met the holy God and the sovereign Christ. These are the ones that have seen God in His majesty, have seen God in His sovereignty, have seen God in His holiness, have seen Christ in His glory. These are the ones whose eyes have been opened to God. And in the revelation of God, they've seen their immense unworthiness and their terrifying sinfulness. Obviously, they've known forgiveness. For in that brokenness of heart, because they've sinned against such a holy God, they cast themselves on the nail-pierced hands of Christ. They were forgiven. God has obviously answered prayer, and they have certainly found status as a child of the King, and their hearts have been satisfied with joy and peace. But this which we find in this 5th group are these who've had a revelation of the glory of Christ and are living only for His praise. They're broken. They've committed themselves to Him. They've submitted to His sovereignty. The cross has pierced them through, and the one end of their being is that He be glorified. Now this is His church. This is His church. The religious organization can include other groups, but His church is here. His church is on this level. He is saying, if any man hate not his father and his mother and his husband and his wife and his brethren and his sisters, yea, and his own life also, he can't be my disciple. The lordship of Christ transcends all human relationships. And His one purpose is the glory of God. And He's heard Christ say, if anyone doesn't take up his cross and come follow me, he can't be my disciple. And he's gladly gone with Christ out to the cross. And there he's brought his ego and his ambition and his vanity and his pride and all the things that once motivated and controlled him to the cross. And he has no plan, no purpose, but the glory of Christ. This is the one that's heard Christ say, if any man does not forsake all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. He doesn't give 1/7 of his time and 1/10 of his money. He holds that everything is Christ. All is Christ. This is His church. This is His church. That if any man come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and come follow me.